Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over the news out of the state of North Carolina, where after a long while now, the Republican Griffin has officially conceded the North Carolina Supreme Court race, ending an unprecedented effort to try and overturn the election. Judge Jefferson Griffin was the Republican candidate in this race. After spending over 6 months vigorously contesting his narrow loss in the 2024 North Carolina Supreme Court election, Jefferson Griffin conceded the race on Wednesday following a federal judge's ruling against him. Griffin, a Republican judge on the State Court of Appeals, lost the election to Democratic incumbent Allison Briggs by 734 votes. But he and the state Republican Party refused to accept the results, instead embarking on an unprecedented campaign to challenge over 65,000 votes in a legal battle that has rolled all over the state and drawn national rebuke. Earlier this week, Chief U.S. District Judge Richard E. Myers, an appointee of President Donald Trump, decisively ruled against Griffin's efforts, saying that he sought to, quote, change the rules of the game after it had been played. Rather than appealing the ruling, Griffin conceded the race on Wednesday. He said, quote, as a judge, I believe everybody, myself included, has a right to their day in court, Griffin wrote in a statement provided by his campaign consultant. This effort has always been about upholding the rule of law and making sure that every legal vote in the election is counted. While I do not fully agree with the district court's analysis, I respect the court's holding, just as I have respected every judicial tribunal that has heard this case. Griffin said in the statement first reported by the Associated Press, I will not appeal the court's decision. The State Board of Elections is expected to certify Briggs as the winner in the race soon, per Myers' orders. She has remained on the Supreme Court as an incumbent while the dispute played out, but the board certification will solidify her 8-year term, keeping the High Court's partisan makeup at 5 Republicans to 2 Democrats. As for Griffin, he is set to remain in this position as a judge on the State Court of Appeals until 2029. Griffin's concessions puts to bed a contentious and chaotic saga in North Carolina politics, one that has raised substantial questions about democracy and may impact the state's elections for years to come. The bipartisan elections board at the time, led by Democrats, initially rejected Griffin's arguments in December, prompting him to take the matter to court. The ensuing litigation spent months ricketing between state and federal courts, with each side gradually raking up wins and losses. The Republican-dominated state Supreme Court dealt a major blow to Griffin's case in April when it rejected his argument on the largest number of ballots he challenged, over 60,000 votes, said to lack certification or certain identification numbers in the state's voter registration database. However, in a 4-2 decision, the Supreme Court still left the path for the results to be overturned. The Republican justices ordered that potentially thousands of military and overseas voters who were challenged for not showing a voter ID would be given a 30-day post-election cure period to show identification to election officials or risk having their votes thrown out. The State Board of Elections had approved an exemption to the ID requirement for these voters, which was not challenged before the election, but the High Court nonetheless agreed with Griffin that this exemption violated state law. The Supreme Court also ruled that a smaller number of voters, about 250, would have their votes canceled without the chance to cure them. These voters, who Griffin argued have never resided in the state but gained residency status through their parents, should not have been allowed to participate, the court ruled. But reporting from Anderson Alerts and Popular Information found that dozens of these challenged voters actually were longtime North Carolina residents who appear to have been misclassified as never residents, as Griffin termed them. In his ruling, Myers said that while the Supreme Court could determine that these issues warrant changes for future elections, they could not disenfranchise voters who followed the rules at the time of the election. Even though the Supreme Court did not fully endorse Griffin's arguments, its willingness to entertain the possibility of canceling votes after the fact may have established significant precedent for elections to come. So that's the latest on that and that news. So now officially we can wrap up the 2024 North Carolina Supreme Court election, where the Democrat Allison Briggs won by 2,770,412 votes to the Republican Jefferson Griffin's 2,769,678 votes. A very, very close election that percentage-wise ended up being 50.01% to 49.99% for Jefferson Griffin. I mean, you really cannot get any closer than that in terms of how elections go. Wikipedia mentions also that this election, or the Griffin conceded on May 7th, 2025, 183 days after the election took place. The primary elections were held on March 5th of 2024. So it's definitely taken a long time on this. It's also worth noting as well, this election, Allison Briggs was able to do better than a lot of Democrats in the state of North Carolina, getting 50.01%. Whereas if you want to look at the presidential race in 2024, Pull that up here. North Carolina voted for Donald Trump statewide, 3.2%. Trump getting 50.86%. Kamala Harris getting 47.65%. But when you look down ballot, you look at the governor's race where Josh Stein, the Attorney General of North Carolina, Josh Stein, defeated the incumbent Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson by 14.8%. And then if you want to take a look at the House races in North Carolina as well, Republicans won 10 out of the 4 House seats. Obviously, the map is drawn in a way that benefits the Republicans more than the Democrats, including a very close race in North Carolina's 1st congressional district. So it actually seems like the Supreme Court race was some of the more successful Democrats on the ballot in 2024, in addition to the governor's race as well. But I want to do a video updating you on this. This is now the end story of this. The Democratic candidate or Democratic judge has won, and now she'll be on the North Carolina Supreme Court for 8 years. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a like. Make sure to click subscribe. Leave a comment below. Tell me your thoughts about all this. And keep an eye out because I post at least 3 new videos every single day that you're not going to want to miss. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you in the next video.